to the computer. I will be recording every class. If I forget, like I did today, remind me to do it. I will be recording every class and putting it into the Blackboard content. So if you, and there will be some kind of alternate activity to do to make up for the class. And if you do the alternate activity, then your absence will change to presence. And so the 25 points that will be there for attendance, doesn't even show that, will be basically free points for everybody. There should be no reason not to. These are very long classes. And so I'll have probably a couple different activities if you're absent. But what it means is if you miss a class, you miss a whole lot. I mean, it's the same as 3 50-minute classes from a week. And so it's really important to make it up. Now, I've taught this class many times in a variety, both in person and online, asynchronous. And so I have a lot of material on Blackboard that I'll ask you to read, or that and that definitely you'll want to read, especially if you for some reason miss class or aren't paying attention for a while. The way I've had this set up is I put a lot of information on the navigation panel, which may be different from other teachers. I have it set up so the first thing you see is the announcements. This first announcement is going to be a permanent announcement. So, you know, with the Zoom link, it'll be the same Zoom link for every class. And so that everybody can do that. And the content of the course is in this link called Course Content, Spring 22. And I will periodically take material out of that course content, not out of it, but highlight that material from the course content and put it underneath this course content. So when we get to week 3, I will probably put a week 3 link under the navigation manual. So you don't have to keep clicking. But if you do click on that, you get the syllabus, schedules, and outcomes, which we'll talk about in a moment. You get week 1, week 2 and 3. I've put all my fall 21 recordings there. I'm not sure you need them. I probably should hide them away, but I will be putting spring 22 recordings as well. I guess I might use the fall ones if, for example, I forget to turn on record, because we'll be covering similar things. On this navigation panel, as I said, the first thing is announcements. I will use announcements kind of like the teacher's podium. I will send those announcements out by email to your ULR email, and I will put an announcement after each class and probably before each class, just kind of to orient you and keep you on track. And then, of course, there's the My Grades link. Then this is student resources, university policies and resources. You've probably seen this many places. You know, all the different kinds of support you need. Here's the library, the Writing Center, Academic Success Center, et cetera, et cetera. And this is the technical support for Blackboard. And it would be a good idea to look at this recommended skills, make sure you understand that. We won't be doing Respondus Lockdown Browser. This is the context Blackboard student support. You should probably put this somewhere else, like in your, whatever notebook or whatever you keep, so that if you can't get into Blackboard, you can locate this information. Their office is on campus over in Dickinson Hall, and they're pretty good about responding at least 9 to 5. When there's a problem on campus, what happens is, like today, there was unstable internet service. And usually what happens is a bunch of people send very crabby emails to Fact Focus, the faculty staff listserv. And then that makes those crabby emails makes Blackboard support people feel kind of crabby, and they'll send out something, or IT services will send out something, and they'll say, we've got it, we understand, blah, blah, blah. So the best thing to do if you have a problem is contact them directly, because if a bunch of students contact them directly, then they realize there's a problem and they will send out some kind of email. That should be their goal, in my opinion, to send out an email that there's a known problem before there's a bunch of crabby emails talking about it. Who knows, we've had some pretty, Blackboard has been handled pretty well lately. There have been some semesters where it's really unstable and problematic. I don't prevent anything. IT services is for more computer type things, internet, logging on to various applications in the system, which, like, for example, I had a problem doing that today. I cannot log on to any of my computers. I apparently changed my password, but there's no way for me to find the password, and there's no offer to change the password. So I have to figure that out. I have communication sections. I actually should move Writing Center up and just have communication there. We will periodically use discussions, especially since we're only meeting once a week, to kind of follow through. And then I always put this in here. The department has writing awards, including awards for comp classes, 3316 classes, and then our major classes. And so that's a link. The deadline is, what is it this year? April 1. Okay. So let me see who's here and who's not. I've been waiting to see if we could catch up on people. I should say that I want people to be using their videos if you're online. So everybody, you need to turn on your cameras, and after I take attendance, we're going to do some introducing of each other. So we have here, so Brianna, Aaron, are you in this? You're not in the room. I didn't hear Brianna. Are you Brianna? Oh, you're Brianna. Hi. You're not Brianna. You're okay. So right now, everybody should unmute, and we see who's here. Brianna, are you here? Today is January 18th. All right, Diamond. Okay, hi. Aaron Dawson. Hi. Ansley Dean.
Here.
Hi. Daniel Dober. Eric Marino. There. Zia Patrick.
Here.
Here's Zia. Okay. I'm sorry, Patsy McIntyre here. Emma Pruitt.
I'm here.
Hi. Chrissy White.
Here.
And Justin Wilson. Okay, so absent. One. Does anybody know Brianna or Justin? Okay, so I'd like to start by having each of you introduce yourself a little. Tell us what your major is. Tell us why you're in this class, possibly, probably because it's required. Tell us how you think it might be valuable, even if it is required. And well, that's good. You can tell us any interesting thing about yourself as well, so we get to know who you are. Yours. Have you figured out how to mute? Good. So are you working in some noisy spot? That looks like a ULR building. That looks like in ULR's
In the cafeteria.
cafeteria.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you should come up here. It's a lot quieter.
Where were and you in the I think that's the building like a park car garage.
It's Stabler Hall. So if you go towards the south end of campus, towards where Big Lots is, you'll see a concrete building that's 7 stories high. It really looks like a parking lot.
And what room?
So it would be great if you could join us, because that would probably be a lot better than the noise in the cafeteria. Okay, so before we go on, let me say, we have 3 different sections here. One that's on campus, one that's for main campus students, but offered synchronously online. That's the S section. And then one for online only students, that's the U section. Since I'm going to be teaching on campus and online, you are welcome to do it in whichever mean that's comfortable for you, especially those of you who are who are on campus. It's okay, especially in these next couple weeks before this Omicron disappears or reduces, if you feel more safe coming online. But if you do switch your modality from what you're signed up for, please let me know. And you can do it for individual classes or whatever seems useful. And it may be that I'll do it periodically. I know there's a couple times where I may be either out of town or having to do something that I can't come to campus. All right, so let me start with Aaron. I know that Aaron is a good organized person because he logged on even before I did and tried to make sure the settings were okay. So tell us about yourself, why you're here, what your major is. Can't hear you even though you're unmuted. Some people, there's too much noise. Some people, there's not enough. I know it worked before. It's not working. Okay, let's switch to Annalee. Or Ainsley. How do you pronounce your name?
Ainsley.
Ainsley. Okay. My eyesight is not very good, which is why I printed up everybody's names in really big print so I could see it. Ainsley. So tell us about yourself.
My name is Ainsley. I'm from Sheridan, Arkansas. I'm a nursing major. I'm taking this class because I have to, but hopefully it will be fun. What else do you want to know?
So what do you think would make it fun?
I don't know. I really don't know. I've never been really an English person. Writing is challenging for me, especially when there's a very strict prompt. So maybe not always having a very strict prompt would be fun.
So, okay. Well, we'll see about that. Eric.
Hi, I'm a social work major, and this is a requirement for me. But I graduated a long time ago with a degree in journalism, but I was making much better money managing restaurants. So I did that for a while until COVID happened, and then everything just kind of evaporated. And when my wife and I have had our child about 2.5 years ago, so I decided to come back to school and look after her at the same time, and that's been it's been fun but challenging.
Yeah, the hardest thing. Okay, Emma.
I'm a nursing major and I'm taking this class as a requirement.
And what will make it valuable for you beyond the requirement?
I guess
you hear me now?
how to write in the workplace.
In the workplace. Okay.
Can you hear me now, guys?
Pardon?
It's Aaron.
Is it working now?
Yeah, the mic is. I just had to switch the mic. Sorry
Oh,
about
good. Tell us about yourself.
you. Okay. I'm Aaron. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm an interdisciplinary major, so that means I have 3 separate minors. A minor, I'm going for law studies, communication, and management. I'm a veteran in the United States Air Force of 6 years, honorable discharge. And I think this is my last year in school. I think I've got about 2 semesters left. So I'm looking forward to finishing. Is there anything else you needed to know?
So are you interested in law school? Is that why you're doing a law studies, or it just happened to?
I actually trying to do something in marketing. So it's really helpful when you're trying to figure out the words you can and cannot say when you're doing marketing. So yeah, that's sales, marketing, stuff like that.
Huh. So one of the courses I teach is legal writing, which I'm
nice.
teaching this semester. at 4:30. And if you have room for another course, I
I think I
invite
have
you
4
to,
courses already, so I got a
Yeah.
full load as it is, so. But I think this will be helpful for, that career, for sure. And it's all, I
Yes.
think it's also required.
yes. Okay, and you're Daniel?
Yes. My name is Daniel, and I'm a paramedic transitioning into nursing. And so that's why I'm taking this course. It's required. And looking forward to learning some writing etiquette, especially when it comes to like emails and what's appropriate, not appropriate, and things like that. Things that I've never officially learned before. You just kind of go off for what other people do, and so.
Okay. Um,
My name is Brian. My major is nursing. I'm taking this class because I have to. Yeah.
So what will make it valuable even though you have to take?
I don't know, working with patients and patients' families, is gonna be great, especially writing stuff. That's it. I struggle with writing, so
What about writing?
I struggle with writing,
You struggle?
yes,
How come?
because I can't articulate my words properly. Or like, yeah, that's basically it. My thoughts get messed up.
Okay. It's hard to understand with the masks on. So that's one of the values of staying at home. Patsy?
Yes. My name's Patsy. I'm also in nursing. This class is required.
I've heard all this before.
I guess it'd be helpful seeing how, as a nurse, we don't have to like chart and properly write down the info, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Zia?
My name is Zia. I'm from Palm Bluff, Arkansas. I'm
From what, Arkansas?
Palm Bluff, Arkansas.
Oh, Pine Bluff.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a nursing major, so this course is required, but I feel like it'll be good to like spin off of what he said, like learning the etiquette when writing like emails and in a professional setting and stuff like that. So
Okay. So I assume all of you work, right?
yes.
Yes.
And you may not be working in your chosen profession. Do you do writing in your current work?
Mine, yes. We're not writing, but we have to like chart because I am a nurse.
So
I'm a
you're
bartender.
you're a bartender. Is there any writing in bartending?
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
You could write down the stories that you hear. Is that so?
Maybe that'd be interesting. Sometimes it's super interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so she does some charting. Other things people do?
I mean, our patient reports,
So every time you
every single patient.
do EMT events.
You
you have to
transport
write it out.
somebody, to take care of a patient, the whole report gets written up.
Is there a format you have to use?
More or less, it's more what information needs to be included in a a legible manner that somebody can go back and read it, or you can go back and read it, or if the case, if you somehow for some reason end up in court, then that's your documentation that you're accountable for.
Right.
So
Yeah,
Even-
in the health professions, that becomes, I mean, it's not necessarily frequent, but it's always.
it's there. It's always looming. Yeah, always.
Right.
Yeah.
Other kinds of jobs people are doing?
I'm a competitive cheer coach and personal trainer. So really the only time I have to write is when I'm like texting a parent or writing like a workout plan, but it's not really proper writing, I guess you could say.
Well, what kinds of things do you have to think about when you're writing to a parent?
My tone, because sometimes they make want to catch attitude, and I can't do that because it's unprofessional.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty a challenging audience to be working with. Because kid, I don't know how old the kids are, but they're not from the parents' perspective, they're probably wonderful. From your perspective, there might be issues that cause you to yeah. Great, I'm glad you could join us. You might want to go over there so you can, your back is not to the camera. So you're Chrissy. So we were introducing ourselves. Let me, yeah. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what major?
I'm a nursing major.
Nursing major.
I'm a first-time freshman and
So this is your first semester?
second.
Second? Does anybody else have, so we were talking about Ann Ainsley's audience of writing to parents. Does anybody else have sort of challenging audiences that they ever write to?
I work at Comfort Inn. So, and I'm at the front desk. So sometimes I have to like write the emails to my manager about the guests or whatever. And it can be challenging, I guess, to be professional in the emails.
Being professional and not, do you ever have to talk about problems?
Yes.
Yeah, whenever you start talking about problems, whether you're writing above you or below you or sideways from you, there are issues that come up, and that has an effect. So writing will, in many of your planned careers, have legal dimensions. It will have some audience concerns of different kinds of audiences, and how do you adapt your writing to a particular audience. Anybody else do some writing at their job? Okay, so I was going to do this as a poll, but my technical skills seem to leave something to be desired. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to we'll do it old-fashioned way manually. How long since you last took a writing class is my question. And then I'm going to give you different options in terms of time. 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5, 6 to 10, 10 to 20, more than 20. Probably won't be. So how many people took a writing class within the last 2 years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. By the way, on Zoom, on the bottom of your screen, there should be something called reactions. And you can raise your hand. You can thumbs up, thumbs down, clap. What's this? Cry?
Laugh.
Joy. Oh, joy.
Yeah, it's a laughy emote.
Oh, it's a laugh.
I think it's joy. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It says joy. A heart and a celebrate, or ta-da. And they've got a whole collection of them. goodness. So you can use these. I think the reactions will go up and then come down, but the raised hand will go up until you lower it. Anyway, so 5 took it in the last 2 years. All right. And how many took a writing class between 3 and 5 years ago? You don't remember? 1? Anybody in here? And how many took it 6 to 10 years ago? More than 5, but less than 10. No. And how about 10 to 15? No.
No.
I only have 6 answers here. If you haven't told me,
It's been more than 15 years for me.
more than 15,
I'm right at 20.
you're right at 20.
Getting close to 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Six, 7, 8, should be 2 more answers. Who hasn't answered yet? Just guess, just estimate. When were you last in college?
No, I'm 18, like I'm in like,
Oh, so you took a writing class in high school, right?
I mean, it wasn't necessarily writing.
Did you take freshman comp?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, it was like 1 year.
What?
1 year.
Yeah, yeah. You had to have taken freshman comp. Anybody else not? Did you guys answer? Okay, well, that's interesting. Now, here's the harder question. What do you remember was the most important thing you learned in that class? Now, those of you who are 20 years more, you'll be excused from not remembering exactly, but is there
Well,
anything?
the last time I took a writing course, it was English Composition 2. And so we had to write pretty big papers. And the best thing that I could remember that is just get started as soon as you can and work on those papers throughout the whole time instead of just waiting, not last minute, but you say, oh, I got a day to write that. But I wrote the higher quality papers if I, gave it the actual time that it needed. I know that might be common sense, but that's the number one thing I took away from English Comp.
Yeah, well, if you can learn time management in any class, then that's a really important thing, because that turns out to be the main thing really that gets people to succeed or not in college. So how about you guys? What do you remember learning? Yeah.
The thing that I learned, I took English Comp too. So the thing that stuck with me was I forgot what I was going to say. The thing that stuck with me was the brainstorming process, I guess. Knowing like the intended audience, what you wanted your paper, how you wanted your paper to sound, what you were trying to make the audience, what you were trying to get the audience to learn from reading your paper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's the brainstorm process,
Right.
Organizing the paper.
Instead of just
starting with
like a empty brain.
Yes.
Was that at ULR or UAPB?
Yes, ULR.
Oh, good. I'm just glad you said that. Okay, so that's a related comment. That's like before you write, actually doing some thinking ahead. We sometimes call it pre-writing. And it may be on text, on paper, but it may be elsewhere. Other things you remember learning?
I had a class in Maryland. I took class in Maryland like spring of last year.
Uh-huh.
And it was like a argumentative like class. And the most thing I forgot on is the details, supporting details. Have your claim and it's supported 3 facts at least. or like 3, supporting things.
Always
Just
three, just three,
No, it was at least 3.
at least three.
Yes, because we had to write like 5-page, 6-page essays. Yeah. That's basically what I did.
Right. So claim plus support, really important idea. Even if you're like writing a letter about a problem, if you say there's a problem, if you just say there's a problem without saying some kind of supporting information about that problem, then your audience won't understand what's going on. And then, of course, going back to the audience issue, it may be a challenge to phrase the problem in a way that the audience will listen and not just be offended. So, yep. Any other things to
Well, I don't know
research?
if it applies to this class.
We actually will do some research. What kind of research?
Regular research. I didn't know there was a different type. Just regular research. It needs to be like have good sources, reliable sources. Yeah.
Did you use the library databases to find
I
those
used some
sources?
of them, yeah, I did.
So the nursing department and the social work department, the nursing department before the social work department, because the nursing department's been requiring this for a long time. They particularly want their students to learn to do documentation using APA style, which stands for American Psychological Association. And so we will be doing some projects that relate to that. And related to that, we'll also be doing some projects related to finding research in your particular disciplinary area, using both the internet and academic library databases, and also there will be an interview assignment as well. And an interview is another way of doing research. So this is probably a good time to shift to talk about the syllabus. Share screen. Screen 1. Okay, so I'm not going to do a quiz on the syllabus, although I often feel like I really should, but the syllabus has a lot of very important information in it, and you need to actually be aware of the information that's in it. So first of all, I separate out the syllabus from the schedule. So the syllabus is policies, and then the schedule is this, a list of dates and activities. And I will keep sharing the syllabus or the schedule to help you stay on track. So, and here I link to the syllabus. Now, has anybody used Google Docs? Yes. So I use Google Docs a lot, because one of the things that is important to learn if you're going to be working in any kind of organization is some kind of document management system. And that's what Google Docs is. By being this Google Drive, you can create this organizational structure where you keep everything together. And many organizations are like ULR, they're Google institutions. So You may not be aware of it, but ULR email is actually Google email, which is why sometimes you run into some problems if you have a personal Google email, Gmail, and you always have to keep going back and forth. But one of the best things about Google Docs is that you can share it online, and if you make changes, the changes show. So in the old days, if I'm writing something, my syllabus on Word, then I may have to make a change for something, then all the versions out there are now out of date. But in the new days, with something like Google Docs, and actually Microsoft is now copying it all, but something like Google Docs, I can make changes and update it, and you will get it updated. So if you see my menu up here, so this is the link that's syllabus, schedule, and outcomes. And that actually is the first thing under course content. And anytime I use or mention the syllabus, course schedule, or outcomes in this course, I am clicking to this link, to this particular thing up in the cloud. And that makes it just really, really easy for me to share things. And so we will be using Google Docs regularly for this class. Back to the syllabus. So I have all this stuff about COVID-19. I can't believe that we're going into the third year. I just ready for it to be over. I know you all are ready for it to be over. I read an interesting article about whether Omicron will be the last of the variants, or because in some ways it's a sign of us moving towards COVID being endemic and people all just kind of getting it and surviving okay. And but who knows if there's going to be another variant that develops that does not respond to the vaccines and does not respond to the antibodies that you developed in the last 2.5 years, even if you haven't gotten it. Anyway, so please let me know. This applies to COVID issues, apply to anything. If something happens and you can't attend, let me know. As I have already explained, I make it as easy as possible to see the class and make it up. This contact information, my department moved last summer, and it is still because of COVID and us being kind of slow and not coming to class. We're offering so many online classes. Our offices are still kind of at 6s and 7s, but I will be on campus unless I get sick. For this class, I also will be on campus on Wednesdays for a class at 12:15. And I will be doing office hours on those days, Tuesdays at 12 and Wednesdays at 11. And I will be in my office then, unless, well, I'll try to be in my office. I plan to be in my office. But I can also meet with people online, by phone, by Zoom, any way. And I could certainly meet at other times. There's our phone number. I give you my cell phone. Please don't overuse it. last semester, I had a very nice student who called me at 10:30 at night on my cell phone. And I was a little surprised, but so please don't do that. You can call my office phone. It will, if I'm not answering, which chances are I won't be there if it's not the office hours, the recording will be sent to my email and I will be able to hear it, and listen, and solve that problem. The easiest way to reach me is probably email. This is my ULR email. And speaking of email, you must use ULR email in this class. You've probably gathered this if you've taken any classes at ULR yet. That's because Blackboard totally relies on ULR email. I will be sending out notifications, as I mentioned earlier, these announcements, and they will go to your ULR email. You can ask ULR email to forward it to a preferred email if you want. And I'll be happy to show you how to do that sometime. Questions about contacts? All right, there's one book for this class. This is a pocket style manual. It's a handbook. I like it because it's little. It has a spiral binding, which means it can open nicely on the table. I realize that there's a zillion resources online, but it is a lot harder to teach students these various things if they're not looking at the same resource. And so I've tried it both with and without the book. I really think that works much better with a book. It has general things about writing, it has grammar things, and then it has a large amount about APA citations and MLA and CSE and all these others as well. It has a good collection of the common grammar errors that you can check, and it has a good apparatus so you can look things up pretty well, and it's all color coded, and it's about $32, I think it was. Now this is the 9th edition, which just came out. So there aren't very many used books out there. I did see some used book versions of it out there for like $50, which makes no sense whatsoever. If you find them, that's fine. I totally recommend purchasing the book, not renting it. This is a handbook that will be useful in any writing that you do going on. You can tag it, like I've done with a couple pages here, so that you know where to look for things. I also don't recommend looking at it, getting an ebook. The ebook versions just don't seem to work very well. I don't know how you guys have felt about ebooks, but they're a little bit less expensive, but I don't think it's really worth it. And students have told me that they can't really scan like they need to with the ebooks. I've got this is the 8th edition. This is the 8th edition, which really didn't change. It wasn't that much different. I mean, they changed from blue to yellow. I know you can find lots of used versions of this one. And none of the big thing, I mean, there, in this one, Chicago has the Chicago 2017 update. MLA had updated in 2016, and APA did their 7th edition in, I guess, 2019 or something. These company, I mean, I don't know, it's a marketing thing, the way that they keep publishing brand new things. But the reason why they do need to publish brand new things with some of these handbooks is that that the organizations change their citation systems. And the reason why there's so much change in citation systems is because the whole publishing industry has changed so much, and the access issue has changed so much because of technology. And they come up, they try to figure out how to cite online sources, and then that doesn't turn out to be as useful as it should. And so a couple of years later, they come up with a revision. So you are, if you can find, depending on how you deal with your books, if you have to get it through the bookstore price is the price that basically you get for this online. And for this one.
Yeah, I went to go get that book and they gave me an ebook and it was like $100.
How much?
100 something.
100?
Yeah, because I got 2 books. One of them was like I think it was my biology book. It was like one something. And then the other one, it was like another one something. So like my total was like 290 something. So like we're gonna
For that book?
Yeah, it was like one something. I got a receipt and everything. Because I only got 2 books. One of them
What was the other book?
It was the biology.
That probably was like 80
But that
bucks.
one, no, but that one was only $100 something. Where's the other?
I would probably go
I
back to
haven't
the
used it,
bookstore
yeah.
and see if they could trade it out for like a
Yeah.
hard copy, because I got the hard copy from the bookstore and yeah, I'm renting it and it's for $20.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
$10.
Yeah,
It was $20.
20.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
cheaper
renting
even than
it.
they
Yeah,
said.
I'm renting it, but it was $20. And then if you want to buy like a new one, it's like 36.
Oh. Right.
Yeah, I just bought it
Fine.
on Amazon for $26 for.
Yeah. I mean, this is, as books go, this is not a real expensive book. So select your course, Spring 22, department.
The website. Like if you go.
RHET 3316,
They'll tell you.
section 2. Retrieve materials. What?
yeah, it's right here.
What?
This one. Oh, that's for one of them.
Okay, because I'm like, that's just Cengage. That's probably for like a bio class.
Why?
Yeah, that's just Cengage stuff.
Oh, maybe I need to.
Cause I have the thing with me. Cause I was charged like $200.
That's
It was
good.
for this.
Like, ooh, baby, no ma'am.
GT.
A couple of days ago, I looked up on the bookstore how much it was to rent a used copy, and it says $19. I have it written down.
This is your. That's
Yeah.
Your anatomy.
Oh wait, so did I
Yeah, that's your anatomy.
okay, never mind then. I guess so we
Got it
do
figured out.
yeah, did you require put in like the system that I needed the book? That we needed the book? Cause I went to the bookstore, they only gave me 2 books.
I did, but I did it kind of just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I went Saturday and then
Oh, it should be there.
All right, I just go today then.
Anyway, I recommend purchasing, not renting, just because it's a good resource to keep. And I recommend the print version, not the e-version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Oh, you're welcome.
as I said, if you can find the 8th edition at a, if money is a really big issue and you don't have to get it through the bookstore, then you can try an 8th edition. They might even have some.
If you can't find it in the bookstore here, you can also try like textbook
Textbook
down the
version.
street.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking I should stop there. So we'll be using Blackboard, Google Drive, and Google Docs. These are our course learning outcomes. We'll talk about them more later. There is basically 4 units to the section course, which you can tell from my color coding. So the last unit's the longest. Then there's the pink unit. Then there's the purple unit, and then there's the yellow unit. And they get longer and longer, and the projects get a little bigger as they go. Yes,
May I be excused? Go to the restroom?
I'm sorry.
May I be excused? Go to the restroom.
Still can't hear you.
May I be excused?
Oh, yes, sure. Well, yes. And on the schedule, you'll see I've color coordinated, I put the class days, I've given the topics, and I've tried to list the major assignments that are due for that unit with the date. And sometimes I end up changing it. I never change it so it's earlier. I always change it so it's later. It just depends on if, things happen. Like, what if we have a huge snowstorm like we did last February? So we have to move everything along. If you look at this, you'll see that I set up assignments so that they are drafts and then revisions. And then in between, there are peer review and also feedback from me. And as we do that, there'll be more about that. The last day of the semester is a Monday. So that means the next day is a Tuesday. So we won't have class on that day. Our exam was scheduled for Thursday, May 5th. We won't have an exam, but the final draft of something will be due then. And then some additional. And then if you see this Friday, May 6th, any additional revisions due to Blackboard, Dropbox, use the original Dropbox, ask for additional admissions if needed. Submissions if needed. I have a policy that if you get something back with a grade that you think you can do better with, you may rewrite it and I will count the higher grade. I won't count it though if it's just a few little tinkers. I will expect you to actually pay attention to feedback and actually do the revision. And many of your comp classes may have done that as well. And you'll notice on the schedule, I also put the Zoom link. So this thing, course structure, describes the units. The first couple weeks are going to be introductory, kind of, you might not know how it all relates. But at the end of the semester, my experience has been that students say, oh, now I see why you did that at the beginning of the semester. And then we will do a unit on correspondence. And then we'll do a unit on investigating workplace writing, specific to the workplace that you are hoping to enter. And then we will do a more academic paper project, but you won't be writing a paper. You'll be doing a bibliography of sources, and then you'll be doing a handout, a graphic. And we'll be talking about how to do handouts, because there's a lot of use of handouts in many jobs. And there's a points and the grading. Okay, so attendance and video cameras. I want you to attend. I want you to be on video. If there's some reason you can't, let me know. The reason I want you on video is so that I know you're actually there. The very first semester of the pandemic, we, suddenly shifted, and the message was, don't make students show you their houses, so you can take them off the camera. Well, I could not. It was not a good way to teach a bunch of names on the screen, and you had no idea if they're there, if they're responding, etc. So I will expect you to be there. Participation in deadlines. I hope that with such a nice small class, I hope, and you guys already started doing it well. I hope everybody will participate and interact. The more you participate and interact, the more interesting it's going to be, because you'll be able to deal with things that are interesting to you, and time will go faster. And deadlines. I accept late papers, but I build in a demerit system in the rubric, so that if it's late, you get docked things. I don't care the reason for the late papers. So I don't need doctor's excuses or whatever. Although the more you can communicate with me to let me know what's going on, the better it can work. The most important time for meeting deadlines is when we're doing peer review, and you're supposed to be sharing papers with other people. Students get so angry, and I don't blame them, when I put them in a group with somebody who has not turned in the paper and then doesn't give them feedback, but they've turned in the paper and they've tried to give feedback. And I don't blame students for getting angry. So I will emphasize how important that is. Okay, picky detail about file naming. This sounds trivial, but because I organize everything in my Google Drive, it is really important that you follow this. Let me show you why. Where is the top thing? Oh, I know the problem is. Do that. All right, you'll see here that I have 41,000 emails in my inbox. And this is just from 9:37 this morning. And I actually have two other emails, one for personal things and one for commercial, advertisements and all this stuff. So I have to organize things. So when I have a student, when I have a class, you'll see here, this is my Google Drive. See all these folders I have? And I totally recommend that you develop a folder system that you will be able to work with. So I've started a folder for your class. There's nothing in it yet, but here, let me show you another class. And so what I want you to do is name your files by your last name first, and then some kind of information about whatever it is, and then end it with some kind of information about what version it is, whether it's the first draft, second draft, revision, whatever. And that way, it's not very, that way I can, if they follow my instructions, I can locate things easily because I'm finding the last name. This is not a particularly big class because they didn't follow my instructions very well. And then when I read it, I will add JLM at the end, and that lets me know that I've read it and given you feedback. And, you know, so that keeps me organized and on track. And it will help me if you follow my little picky details, which is name your file, last name, and then something, a short title of version, and then a version, something about the version number, first, second, third. Now with Google Docs, you can keep changing the name on something, and you keep seeing the versions. So I don't know if you'll see the versions. With Google Docs, you get the version history. Now, what I did is yesterday, I made a copy of the last time. So you can see I took my fall 21 schedule, and then I made significant revisions. You can see what I did here. And then I made some more revisions today, not too many. And so you can keep changing your name, the name of a Google Doc. And again, we'll be talking about Google Docs starting next class when everybody has their laptop. All right. Let's take a 5-minute break to walk around. We've gotten to the legalistic stuff at the end. Well, and the support information. So this section, policies and university information, these are policies that have been approved by the university. That's the academic integrity policy. Here's the disability policy, which basically, oh, there's a typo there, which basically requires you to go to, if you want some kind of accommodations, then you should go to the Disability Support Service, or DRC, and talk to them, and they will work with you and me to develop appropriate accommodations. We have a new policy that we developed after last spring, because we had this major snowstorm in February. And hi.
I think I'm in this class.
Alec, you
Yeah.
already took this class.
Oh, I did.
What class are you trying to go to? This is another 3316.
3301. It wasn't where it said it was, but then looked on the,
I think she's doing them all online.
oh,
Because at least the advanced editing, there's a sign on the door. Yeah, but I have a feeling she's doing it with the 3301. Is Dr. Narwhal?
yes, ma'am.
Go into Blackboard and see what she says.
Thank you. Sorry.
Nice to see you. The campus disruption policy formerly was called inclement weather policy, and between COVID and extreme weather, we changed the name. And the chancellor makes the decision, and the information's on the website. Since this is an online as well as on-campus class, we will plan to just continue online unless there's really power issue problems, in which case we probably won't. I will try to communicate in some other manner. Maybe even by text. And if you happen to run into power problems, you be sure to let me know. This is especially applies to the people online. If you have internet problems or power problems. And that's called the virtual protocol. So all the faculty are supposed to tell you what that is now. This last section is a variety of support services that are available at the university. We really do offer quite a lot of different support services. And I hope that you will take advantage of them. For one thing, you're paying for it with your fees, or somebody's paying for it with the fees. There's a writing center, which is, of course, I'm more interested in, but there's also the Math Assistance Center, Mac Lab, and there's a Communication Skills Center for Speech. There is, and they're in the process right now, all those things are virtual, but they're in process of moving them all into the library and into our former location, which is why we were forced to move in a very surprising way. There was poor communication about it. And so that it's all going to be in the center of campus, which is a good thing. And then there's coronavirus updates. So they have the campus guides, they're up to version 6. And information for students specifically. Our health services now provides testing and vaccines. And it's the PCR testing, not the instant testing. But we're supposedly all supposed to get 4 sometime in the mail. But the health services need you to phone in advance, make an appointment. If you're a student, all those things are free. Counseling services, they have increased counseling services with the pandemic because more and more people are stressed out. And so you can sign up for appointments. There's also a university care team that has a list of tutoring on campus that in addition to the Writing Center, MacLab, Skill Center. And it has this care team request form. So you just fill out this form and make a request. And this is the same form you can use if you need tech support or any kind of support as a student. So the most important thing to remember is you're not going to get help unless you ask for it. And but there are a lot of places available to give you help. And there's a Trojan food pantry over in Administration North, which is opposite the nursing building. And then this care team request, there are actually even laptops available for students, which were purchased with COVID money. And you use that same care team request form for that. So let's say you have a laptop right now and it's totally wonderful, but something happens to it in the middle of the semester and you don't have the money to replace it, then you can ask for help with that. And you know, you really pretty much can't be a student these days without a laptop. All right, any questions about the syllabus? So these days, syllabi become very, very long. And it is an example of writing that one does in my profession, in my career, that you don't really think of it as writing, but it is a process of writing. I have to write something to students. And it also has legal dimensions so that whatever I put in the syllabus, it's okay for you to expect me to abide by it. That's why the schedule says things will change or may change. All right, I want to just do like maybe 10, 15 minutes more to start talking about the content of the course. All right, I changed over the break. I added weeks 2 and 3 to the navigation panel. And so it's under the course conduct. So weeks 2 and 3 are there. I have all these other folders for weeks 4 through whatever, but I don't want to overwhelm you with thinking about everything that's coming. It's better to just kind of go as we go. So, basic principle, and you guys started talking about it in your discussions about what you learned in your earlier writing classes, that when you're talking about writing, it's not just you as a writer and this page, but rather we could talk about the rhetorical situation. And the rhetorical situation is all of the circumstances surrounding a piece of writing. And it affects both you when you're writing it and your audience when they're reading it. There are many versions or graphic versions of the rhetorical situation. They often have triangles, and you'll see next week there's a slightly different triangle. This triangle was from a little video I found on from the University of Jamestown Writing Center. And here are the elements in their triangle: the writer, the audience, the issue. They put purpose right in the middle. And then there's something called context, which is all the things around the situation. So for example, when Ainsley was talking about sending a email to parents of her children, of her little up and coming Olympic stars. She's the writer, and the audience is the parent. And the issue has to do with whatever reason that she wants to talk to them about. And her purpose, let's say it's to invite the parent to come talk to her about a problem that she's having with one of the children. And so her purpose is some kind of inviting. And this yellow is genre and medium. And so she may do it as an email because that's a very common form of communication. She may think about maybe doing it as a text, but then she may decide that's a little too casual and informal, and she prefers to do it as an email. And then there's the context, which is all the situation around it, which would include her awareness of parents in general, and of how their attitudes are towards children, and her knowledge and awareness of what a good gymnastics or cheer student is. So that I just took a screenshot of their final diagram, and I thought this was a good, useful video to start with. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Let me stop and make sure, those of you who are listening online, can you hear the video? No? Let me stop. I have to do this, share sound.
Today we're going to talk about the rhetorical situation.
All right, can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay.
So what is the rhetorical situation? It's basically the idea that no writing exists in a vacuum. Anytime you sit down to write, you are responding to a particular set of circumstances, beliefs, and biases that are going to influence what and how you write. That's the rhetorical situation. So let's break that down a bit, starting with purpose. Purpose is what you hope to achieve with your writing. You might be trying to argue your point, to teach, or even to entertain. Purpose will dictate a lot of the choices you make as a writer, and your purpose exists within a particular rhetorical situation. It might actually be helpful to think of your purpose as at the center of a triangle, with each of the points as part of the rhetorical situation. So let's start with the first of those points, the writer. Let's remember how identity and experiences of the writer can influence a piece of writing. Writers bring their own ideas, emotions, and values to their writing, as well as their own credibility. All of these can impact the kinds of writing that they create. The next point on the triangle is the audience, or the people or groups that the writer is trying to reach. Just like the writer, the audience also brings their own ideas, emotions, and values to a piece of writing. So it's important for the writer to consider their audience carefully when making decisions about the text. The final point of the rhetorical situation triangle is the issue, or the topic being discussed. This may seem obvious, but many topics have been discussed long before a single writer starts to write. Therefore, when considering the rhetorical situation, it's important to understand and consider the ongoing conversation about the issue and how a new piece of writing contributes to that conversation. Each of these 3 points of the triangle are connected by other rhetorical choices that can serve the writer's purpose. One of the most important of these is genre or medium, basically the way that a message is conveyed. This might be a book, a speech, a movie, or even a social media post. Often in academic writing, the genre is determined by your instructor, but in other writing contexts, you will want to carefully pick a genre that best suits the rhetorical situation and your purpose. And all of these various parts of the rhetorical situation are surrounded by the broader context of a piece of writing, almost like a circle enclosing the triangle. Context is all of the events, people, and ideas that are going on around a piece of writing when it is written. Often we read and understand texts based on the other things that are going on around them. For example, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech was written in the context of the civil rights movement of the 1960s and is responding to many of the social situations that were taking place at that time. Even though we might still read the speech today, it is important for us to understand its original context to be able to unpack the reasons King made certain rhetorical choices. All of these ideas together make up the rhetorical situation, and considering these elements can make you a much stronger writer. So the next time you sit down to write, consider, what am I trying to accomplish? Who needs to hear this message? What has already been said about this issue? What is going on around this issue? What experiences, biases, and knowledge am I bringing to the conversation? If you consider these elements carefully, you will be able to construct a clear and impactful piece of writing.
Okay, so this video introduces the really important terms, and most of these terms are things that you have heard about before. Because people in your earlier writing classes, those of you who it's longer ago since you took your writing classes, maybe don't remember them as much. And how one chooses to show the relationship among these things, it varies with different people. But the point is that there's always a relationship among these different elements. And so when you have an audience, that will affect your purpose. It will also affect your genre, and it may affect the actual issue that you particularly are trying to reach. And sometimes it can get very complicated. So I was thinking about the examples in both nursing and paramedics, where you are supposed to chart, basically report what happened in a treatment or in an incident. And your direct audience is probably your other professionals who may need to know what happened with that, say, patient or person that was transported. But there may be a long-term audience of a lawyer who is looking at this to see if you did everything correctly, if it somehow becomes part of a lawsuit. That may affect the choices that you end up making. The term genre is sometimes unfamiliar to students. I think you all know it when you thinking about music. There's different genres of music: country, western, classical, jazz, rock, and then within any of those, there are subgenres. But then when we talk about writing, we also talk about genre. And choosing a genre ends up leading you to make other choices that you have to make. So they mentioned that there are different genres: a book, a movie, a song, and social media. Choosing to put a bunch of things in social media limits the space and the way that you can write about it. And it also invents or entails a certain audience. You know, that if you're writing in Facebook, there's certain audience in Facebook that may read this. If you're writing on Instagram or other things, then there's a certain audience. And it's a different kind of audience than if you're writing to a particular individual person. And you have to think about that. You know, I read something recently about a teacher who was complaining about students on, I don't know if it was Facebook or something else, but one of the students felt really hurt about it. And that the teacher was complaining about the students. Well, it may be really important for the teacher to be venting to somebody about, you know, what they're doing, but it may also not be that professional to be doing it to such a open-ended audience where the students themselves might be able to be there. There have actually been stories of faculty and teachers who have been fired because of things posted in social media, as well as people within businesses who are fired because of they're putting something into social media. And that's basically misreading the rhetorical situation, putting out something that's not appropriate for that particular genre and audience. So I just wanted to get you thinking about that. And I have two pieces of homework for you. One, as you go through life this week, I want you to think about the rhetorical situation of anything that you write, or maybe anything that you read. And I can guarantee there will be lots of pieces of text or digital text floating through your lives. So think about the rhetorical situation, and you can use these bolded terms as a way of thinking about that. And how about if you think about at least 3 incidents of writing and the rhetorical situation. We'll talk about that next week. We'll also move to week 2. And I would like you to read this week 2 material, which takes the same ideas and it organizes it in a slightly different way. Don't stress over the different organizing. And this is just the way I find it useful, to take the triangle being the writer, the audience, and the subject matters, which would be the issue. And instead of putting purpose in the center, I put purpose sort of as the relationship between the writer and the audience. And then I want to put context in this circle all the way around. And it's more or less the same thing with just some slight differences, with some text. And then there's 2 short readings to read online.
So you want us to do both of those for this week?
Yeah, so basically read this overview for this week, which includes 2 reading assignments. And I really shouldn't say complete self-introduction because we're not going to be able to start it. I'll change that. Okay, so there's 2 readings, and then there's thinking about these concepts in light of your own experience with writing this week. And bring at least 3 examples that we can talk about. Okay, so the introduction needs to be, need to delete that. That needs to be for week 3.
What examples are examples of rhetorical situation?
Sorry, what?
What examples are you bringing?
I want you to think about writing that either you wrote or read, and it can be text writing or digital writing, any genre, and think about the rhetorical situation of that. So for example, let's say you go to your next class and your teacher hands you a syllabus. That's a piece of writing that you are reading. I want you to think about the rhetorical situation of the syllabus. What's its purpose? What's its audience? You know, what is the context? Need to erase that. I was going to have you do, you know, writing introductions today. But since we don't have computers here, weird this mouse. Okay. So read this with its 2 pieces of reading embedded in it. This is very short. This is a little longer. And then also think about the rhetorical situation of writing as you go through your week. And come with 3 examples.
So after we read those 2, you just want us to read them?
You should read these. Rhetorical awareness. It's very short. It's just that page. And this is a little longer. The cost of poor communication. It has a bunch of cases in which there is not so good communication. So I want you to read them and be prepared. I'll be dividing you up into groups to discuss them probably. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I'm probably going to prefer to do this, you know, via Zoom at home. Do you want me to email you that I'm not going to be here? Is that
Yeah,
your preferred?
just,
Okay.
yeah,
So you
just
can-
let me know.
all right.
And you can do it if you know, permanently or not. maybe we should make it all online. Does anybody want to be on campus? Or have to be on campus?
Until things die down with COVID, I prefer as much distancing as I can.
Yeah. Yeah,
Personally.
well, we'll contact me individually if you want to talk about that. I certainly don't mind doing it from home, and I'm kind of old, which makes me have a pre-existing condition.
That's it right there.
Really. But I actually like, it's good to make me come out and